Hello friends, I have this Strathmore mixed media sketchbook that I just finished up here, and I'm totally ready to go back through this absolute time capsule of a sketchbook with you all, because even though I only just finished it up, I started this way back in April of 2020. So I finished it in April of 2024 and I started it in April 2020. So it's been 4 years with one sketchbook, which is a lot. Definitely, it's been with me a long time, and I'm really excited to go through it with you and just reminisce and see how my art has changed. Because I think it's changed a lot. The materials I used have changed. The way I draw things has changed. My style has changed. But let me just say, I love the Strathmore mixed media sketchbook here. I originally got the Strathmore because Lee Ellickson recommended it at one point, and I was like, great, that's the one I'm gonna get. And I have really enjoyed it. It's clearly, it's survived, you know, a whole 4 years. I think nowadays I kind of prefer a hardcover rather than a soft cover book, but I have really enjoyed it. And then this here, this is my little sticker. I made a whole bunch of little deer stickers a very long time ago. And so you'll see on a lot of my sketchbooks, I have little deer stickers, and I still have a lot of those sitting in a box somewhere. So I'll just stop gabbing about the sketchbook and just open it and we'll go through it together. I still really love this spread. I just made some bunnies because it's spring and it's, you know, fun. I think this is all gouache. I was really exploring gouache and learning more about gouache at the time. And I just had a lot of fun with it. And I still do like gouache as a medium. I think it's more versatile than just watercolor. I feel like I can do a lot more with it. And at least it's the type of paint that I've worked the most with, and so I feel most comfortable with. And I still just really love these cute little bunnies. They're adorable. So next up on the left here, honestly, don't know what's going on. I just have a mood, a vibe going on with these leaves or petals floating through the sky and a random character. Again, this is all gouache. On the right here, these are characters from a play I was in, and I just kind of drew the costumes of the characters and just had a fun time with that. I remember we were performing As You Like It, the Shakespeare play, the Shakespeare comedy. But I just really love drawing dresses and costumes and outfits, and especially this hat was super fun to draw. And on the left here, we have just some general landscape explorations, I believe. I like how they each have a different vibe, like spring, summer, fall type vibe. I enjoy that a lot. And on the right, of course, we have a variety of things. I remember this little landscape that I did because I did it plein air. I was with a friend, and at the time we lived close together and we were both artists, so we could go out and draw together. And that was one of the first times we did that. We took our paints and everything and we went out on this trail and we were painting, and I drew these little flowers and I just drew the trail. I remember we got stopped by quite a few people asking us what we were doing, and they were all really excited that we were painting, and that was just felt so good. So don't be afraid to make art in public places, because most of the time if people stop and talk to you, it's because they are interested and think it's cool that you're doing that. So don't let fear stop you, because if anyone thinks it's weird, they're not going to tell you about it anyway. So the people who talk to you about drawing in public are nice, I promise. And then, of course, we pivot and I put Katara on this spread because I wanted to. I was probably rewatching the series for the 18th time and wanted to draw one of my favorite characters. It is so interesting to look at these spreads because at the time I would definitely do one page and then another page instead of making the whole spread like a cohesive thing. And now I even have a video that I just released on like a ton of different ideas of how to fill a sketchbook spread like as a whole, and I just think that looks really fun, and it's more fun to like do a whole spread, even though that's obviously more intimidating. But you can tell at this time I definitely just did one page at a time. So on the left we have some gardens where I was drawing plein air there as well, and I was with that same friend, and it's just so much easier to draw in public when you have a friend with you, so I highly encourage that. And I love how I still really enjoy drawing buildings and drawing architecture, and especially the detail in architecture. So it's fun to look back on kind of like these things that I've always loved to draw. And on the right, we have this very 4th of July festive character. And I don't recall if this was from a reference or if this was a draw this in your style challenge or something like that. I used to do a lot more of those at the time. But yeah, I'm still getting the hang of gouache in this, but I still, you know, I still like it. She's looking great. On the left, we have a little windmill that I drew in person. And again, I just love the details, little details of buildings and different architecture pieces, and windmills are very unique and different to draw. And then on the right, I really love this piece. It's a piece that I've explored several times, and I'd love to do another redraw of it because it's kind of just how I feel in life a lot of the times. It's just like I'm floating in air, like the feeling of like Howl and Sophie floating through the air at the beginning of Howl's Moving Castle. Like that's just how I feel about life a lot of times, both in a good way and a bad way. And so I've redrawn this several times, and just like I still really love it, even though I know the perspective is still a little weird. And I think I can do a better job now, so I should definitely give it a try. If you don't know, on the left page here, this is Lin-Manuel Miranda playing Hamilton in the Broadway musical Hamilton. I still really like this style of ink drawing, by the way, and I really am still happy with this. And I'd like to do more ink drawings in this realistic style and just try to get an even better hang of it. On the right, we have a little street, probably drawing on location there as well. And some more folk costumes. I love costumes. I love drawing folk costumes. This one I do remember being from a reference. And yeah, I just really like how adding some little watercolors worked out. I remember at the time I did some commissions in a similar style where the focus was the costumes and I didn't actually put faces on any of the people. But yeah, I really like that, and it's kind of like a focus on these really traditional costumes. So now we have some more fan art. This is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, the Studio Ghibli film that I really love. I think not enough people talk about it. It's one of my favorites. Nausicaa is one of my favorite Ghibli characters, and it's just a really beautiful film, very environmentalist, and it's just a very beautiful story. Yeah, the artistic style is very inspiring for me, so doing some fan art is always really fun, and I just love those films. On the right, we have some more fan art, but this is probably fan art of something you haven't heard of, and that is a podcast called Knight's Quest. A few friends from school made their own, improv storytelling podcast and had these really fun characters, and I decided to draw them all. Here we have a few more ink sketches of that same house that I drew back in this page here. And these are some more studies of it from different angles. It's, again, a big, beautiful old house that was just really fun to draw. On the right, we have fan art of The Tower of God, which is a comic and anime, and this is one of the characters in that. I do really like the style. It's very fun and interesting. I like the thick line art. Line art has always been more fun for me than like painting something, but I think these turned out really well. And actually, I'm really impressed with these flowers. I should draw more flowers more often because I think they're really fun, and these turned out really nicely. I almost always participate in some way with Inktober. If you're unfamiliar, it's the whole month of October. You should draw an ink piece. I personally love using my inks, and so this is always a really fun time of the year. And this particular year in 2020, I did Linktober, which is, of course, all things related to The Legend of Zelda. And so here you'll see one of the flowers from Breath of the Wild, and we'll see a lot of Link and other things as well as we go through this sketchbook. Here I remember I was on location drawing. I went on a hike with some friends and decided to do some painting and drawing, but we didn't have a lot of time to stay there, so I didn't get very far and I never finished it. Not every page in your sketchbook has to be a masterpiece. And here we have even more Linktober. On the left, you have Mifa, the character who is like part fish. On the right, if you've played Skyward Sword, you recognize this evil villain, and he was really fun to draw. I'm really happy with this one as well. It is all done in gouache, and I was really proud of myself because even though there is like some line work, it is more about value than about line. And for me, someone who struggles with that sometimes, like this was really motivating. I should definitely challenge myself to do that more often. Here we have a sketch and partial drawing of a cityscape or a street, but I never got around to finishing it, and I'm kind of bummed about it because like the start looks really good, and I never went back to finish it up. But again, I love the detail. I love drawing buildings. It's really fun for me, and so I still really like this tiny part of it even though I never finished it. On the right, we have just some doodles and exploration with color. Color is something I continue to learn more about, and painting isn't always my strong suit, but it's explorations like this that get me more and more comfortable. So it's always fun to see a big splash of color in my sketchbook. I really love these. I do remember these are all from reference. I think I found a bunch of images on Pinterest and drew from photos. I drew from other people's drawings. Like I was just trying to explore different ways of drawing people, and obviously different, pens as well. So I still just like the look of this with a whole bunch of people on the page. And I think partially why this sketchbook took me so long was that it is a larger sketchbook and there's a lot of space to fill. And that always felt daunting to me. It also meant that this sketchbook didn't travel with me. I always carry smaller sketchbooks with me. And so carrying this around, I didn't have the chance to sit down and really like paint and draw with it as much. And so I think that's part of why it took me so long. Here are some fun colored pencil flowers and plants, as well as a gouache landscape. Landscapes are the most comfortable subject for me when I'm using gouache. And I don't necessarily love how these colors turned out, and it all kind of blends together, but it still looks very nice. A bit of a doodle page here, just exploring with my ink wash, exploring putting color to face, just some general sketches. This portrait is done with colored pencil and a background, I think, of either gouache and or watercolor. It might be gouache actually. And I do really like how it kind of turned out. Obviously, I didn't completely finish this portrait, but I do like the look and texture of having the multimedia. And I think this is one of my first kind of explorations into multimedia. And I do really like how it looks. It's giving me inspiration right now to explore more with this idea. And of course, we have some more fan art. This is Wirt from Over the Garden Wall, one of my absolute favorite series ever. And Wirt is my favorite to draw. I draw him every year during Inktober because the series like takes place in the fall and during kind of a spooky season. And so during October, I always want to draw them. Again, this is some exploration. I think we have some gouache and some acrylic here. I don't love using acrylic, but lately I have really loved acrylic markers. I just think they're easier to use. And acrylic paint is just harder to use. It's like you can't wash it down the drain. And I just don't enjoy it that much, but acrylic markers are great. And you'll see some more acrylic marker pieces during the end of the sketchbook. These, I know I was looking at references and other people's drawings, so just know that I was looking at other references while drawing these. This is not just me, but a lot of fan art of The Legend of Zelda and Violet Evergarden down here in the corner. This guy who's floating or falling in the air, I really love because he's kind of coming out of the frame a little bit, which is super fun. I just love ink. I love the like stark black and white, and I love just like all of this black background. So I really love this idea and would love to do more with it. And that's what's so fun also just about having a sketchbook is that you have all of these fun ideas. And if you just get them down on paper, then later on you can explore them even more. So even if you have an idea that you haven't fully fleshed out, just make sure to get it on your sketchbook somehow. These were some thumbnails and color explorations for a very large commission I was doing. This is all acrylic, and I had a huge canvas I was working with doing a landscape of a farm. It was really fun, but definitely a lot of work, the biggest commission I've ever done, at least so far. And it was a fun exploration into acrylic because it wasn't my strong suit, but I think it turned out looking really good. So these are just kind of some of the thumbnails that I was playing with. Again, it's okay to have sketchbook spreads that aren't a masterpiece. And here I'm clearly just, you know, swatching some things, doodling, testing out some markers, and an extra little bonus landscape. Well, here we have another of these gouache landscapes with a quote. This one I don't love as much either. I just don't think the colors are very contrasting or exciting. Not every page of your sketchbook is going to be a 10 out of 10, and that's okay. A sketchbook is for exploration and for learning, and so it's okay to have pieces that you don't love. These are a couple of explorations into more mixed media. So I know this is gouache and watercolor. And so just trying to see like how the different textures look together and just seeing what I can make with using the colored pencil. I do like some of the color mixing, and it feels very bold and vibrant and fun. I still am getting used to using multimedia, but you know, this is definitely the beginnings of that exploration. And I do still really love these. I love the colors, and you'll see that I continue with some vibrant colors later on here as well. This is another mixed media that I wasn't as excited about. I feel like the trees and the mountains and the river, they all just kind of blend together. And I don't think there's a very strong, you know, difference in value between all those things. I do like the pretty sunset, but it just doesn't hit the way I wanted it to. But you know, you learn with every single time you open your sketchbook. So just keep at it, keep going. I absolutely love this spread. This is from a trip I took with my boyfriend, and I just used all of the pictures and video that I took during that weekend trip and made a little, you know, spread of all the things we did and all of our memories, all the places we went to and the food that we ate. It was one of like the best like getaway weekends ever, and I love looking back on this sketchbook spread to just remember all of those fun things. So I highly encourage you take photos of your life and just use your own photos as a reference, because I love having like little memories to look back on. And I feel like it's extra fun to like look back on your sketchbook and it's all stuff that's like part of your life too, you know? And so I hope that inspires you to take more pictures of your life and draw your life, even things that you don't think are interesting, because, you know, life is always changing, and it's fun to go back and look at what it was like during a certain time. Here we have a spread that's upside down. I made a video about color theory, and so I made a color wheel and showed some different, you know, color combinations. You can go back and watch that video if you'd like to see me make this whole spread. All right, so on the left here we have some gouache. These are just my little mini landscapes, as I like to call them. I really love how the purple mountains turned out, and I was really excited about that. And then the one on the right is all right, but again, I just feel like sometimes the mountains and the trees just blend together. But the one on the left, I just really love the muted colors, and the purple mountains just are so, so good. This image on the right, you've probably seen a lot if you've been watching my channel. I show it in a few different videos, especially the video where I compare different acrylic markers. This was the first illustration I made just with acrylic markers to really just test out how they look together, and I am in love with the acrylic markers. This, if you don't know, is referenced from the movie Moonrise Kingdom by Wes Anderson. And so it's just a still from that movie that I tried to recreate. And I love this style. I love having these thick, colorful lines. I just love the vibrancy of the color. And I love how the paint goes down so easily, and it feels like you're using a marker, but you're not using some sort of marker ink that's like soaking into the page. It really is paint, and it sits on top of the page, which I really love for sketchbooks because then it's not coming through on the other side. So I just really love this one so much. I just want to cut it out of my sketchbook and hang it on the wall. Again, I was exploring my new acrylic markers, and I was using references from Earth's World on Instagram. There's a lot of really lovely portraits of everyday people, and so I just picked a few that I liked and tried to draw them. I am really happy with how these turned out, and I like the idea of just having like a splash of color to kind of show the shape of the people, and then go in with the line work. The next few spreads are all from the most recent video I made about 10 sketchbook spread ideas. And this one, I just went on mapcrunch.com and it shows random street views. So I got this church and the graveyard. So I did different panels of different things that I saw in that area. Again, just exploring the acrylic markers. And I like some panels more than others, but it was a really fun exploration. And here we have a mixed media piece. I used gouache, colored pencil, and some Posca markers as well. I really love the sky in this piece. I love how the different blues kind of blend together with the gouache. And I really love the kind of textured clouds I have going on. The reference image had a very kind of cloudy, dark sky, but I didn't want to make it all gray, so I just kind of added some texture to make it feel like, you know, it's a little overcast. The time will pass anyway. This is a quote that you might have seen on the internet, and the whole idea is that even if you have a project idea or something you want to do that's going to take a long time to achieve, just remembering that the time will pass anyway kind of motivates me, because then it's like, well, I should be thinking long term. I should be thinking about projects, you know, in the next 5 years, 10 years, because, you know, hopefully that time will pass. So I might as well be doing something valuable with my time and doing something that I want to do with the time given to me. So I found that inspiring, and again, it was part of my latest YouTube video. So super fun to use the acrylic markers with this big, bold lettering. Again, you should watch my latest video about this spread, but basically I just make a whole bunch of blobs of different shapes, either with ink wash or I'll use watercolor like in this instance. Then when it's dried, I go back and try to make a face out of the weird shape. And sometimes it works better than others, but it's just a fun way to kind of challenge your brain and to challenge like your perception of shape and how a face should look, especially if you want to do something more stylized. So it's always fun to think, oh, this weird part of the shape could be a nose or an ear or a hat. So I definitely recommend you trying it out. Even if you don't do faces, maybe you make animals or flowers or something, but it is a really fun challenge and I highly recommend it. And we're already at the end of the sketchbook. This is a landscape I did with my acrylic markers again. This I did live, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a live stream where I will draw for you live. And I really love the mountains in this one. I love the little snow-capped mountains and the sky there. So hopefully I can recreate that in another one sometime. And that's the whole sketchbook. It really shows a lot of diversity in my art making over the past 4 years. And I am so excited to kind of, finish this little chapter and be able to move on to something else, something new. It's always exciting to me when I get to start a new sketchbook. So I really hope you enjoyed that. I hope this gave you some inspiration for your own sketchbooking practice. And I hope that you'll join me in, furthering our creative abilities together. So check out some other sketchbook tours if you're interested, and I will see you in the next video. Happy drawing!